All right, we are doing Module 1 Lesson 1.09 and 1.10 for my fantastic 7th graders. So let's take a look at today's work. I'd like you to have your notes pulled up, your pace chart pulled up, and the lessons pulled up. So we have 2 lessons this week. 1.09, look for the main idea, which is a quiz, and 1.10, writing an effective summary, which is an assignment. We are going to focus today on the second one, which is 1.10. I will briefly review 1.9, but we're going to really focus on 1.10 today. And 1.10 is more of the writing one, and I want to go over that with you guys. Okay, so thumbs up if you have your lessons pulled up, your pace chart pulled up, your notes done, and you are ready to go. Ivan, I don't know, I'd have to look. You should be keeping track of those too. Fabulous. Okay. For all lessons, and this is a review, and probably at the end of the year you'll be able to recite this in your sleep, which would be awesome. You want to read through the lessons and take your notes. You want to take those objectives and turn those into questions. Go to the gradebook and take the quiz or complete the assignment, and then repeat if necessary. If you don't score as well as you would like to on the quiz or the assignment, look at the feedback on the assignments. I spend time putting that feedback in. Go through, reread your notes, add some more notes from the lesson, reread the lesson, and then go back and redo the quiz or redo the assignment through gradebook. And you want to repeat if necessary. All right. Ivan will go over that at the end. Right now we're focused on the lessons. Okay, so 1.09, what is the big idea? Again, 1.09, we aren't going to spend a lot of time on that today. We're going to focus on 1.10, but I wanted to review. So your objectives for 1.09, after completing this lesson, you will be able to determine the central idea of a text and analyze this development over the course of the text. Analyze the structure an author uses to organize a text, and use text features to help determine the central idea of the text. So as you are going through 1.09, you want to take these objectives, turn those into questions. So you can do, how do I determine the central idea of a text? What do I do to analyze the structure? And how can I use text features to help determine the central idea of the text? 109 is all about the central idea or the main idea of the text. So make sure that you read that and take your notes on it. At the end of 1.09, there's a quiz. So you want to make sure that you read the lesson, finish all the activities in the lesson, take your notes, and go to 1.09 and complete the quiz on central ideas, and then submit. Okay? So go through 1.09 on your own. Always call or text if you have any questions. It's about central idea. It should be a review. It goes a little more in depth on different text structures. Make sure you're taking notes because we remember we have a DBA next week, so you should have all your notes together and organized. And now we're going to step into 1.10, summarizing. So I want you to, everyone, go to your lessons and pull up 1.10. And give me a smiley face when you have 1.10 up on your lessons. Thank you, Adeline. Thanks. Katie, it should be go under lessons for language arts and educator and go to 1.10. Okay, so in 1.10, your objectives, and this is on the second page, you want to recall guidelines for creating an effective summary. Follow steps for summarizing a work of nonfiction. And write an effective summary of an assigned reading. Right? Exactly, Rebecca. How can I recall guidelines? Katie, it's Module 1, 1.10. If you can't find it right now, it's okay. You can pay attention to this and then we can look at it at the end and make sure you can find it. All right. So how can I recall guidelines for creating an effective summary? What are the steps for summarizing a work of nonfiction? And how do I write an effective summary of an assigned reading? So we take those objectives, we turn those into questions, and those are our guided notes. And we're going to go in detail on this. So what is a summary? For taking notes, this is exactly from your lesson. Make sure that you have in your notes somewhere the definition of a summary. So a summary is a shortened version of important information in which you restate key points in your own words. Right? And this is right from the lesson. Right? But make sure that you have the definition of what a summary is. And I'm pulling up the lesson too. I want to make sure we're on the same page. So that's on the 3rd page of the lesson. And it goes into more detail about a summary, but I want you to all be familiar with what a summary is. Right? The key thing on this, will you guys tell me, what is the key thing on this definition? Shortened version. Okay, what else? Don't plagiarize, restate important info in your own words. Yay, Rebecca. Restate the key points in your own words. In your own words. So you're paraphrasing, you're putting the information in your own words. So remember, for a summary, it's a shortened version, key points, and in your own words. All right, give me a thumbs up if you guys are good with that. Fabulous. So smart, 7th graders, you're awesome. Okay, so now let's look at the tips and tricks. In other words, how are you supposed to write a summary? There are 4 things that I want you to remember about summary. Is that it will be much shorter than the original piece of writing. So if you have a 10-paragraph article that you're summarizing, you're not going to write a 10-paragraph summary. Your summary should be 1 to 2 paragraphs. Okay? Your summary will mention only the most important information. So you're taking the main idea, the important information. Your summary will restate or paraphrase the information in your own words. Again, in your own words. We're seeing that a lot, so we know that's really important. Your summary will discuss the author's ideas. It will not include your opinion about the ideas. So if I'm reading something and I think that the character or the person writing it is awesome, that's great, but I don't want to put it in my summary because that's opinion. So my summary discusses the author's ideas, not my ideas. Yes, Katie, this is right in the lesson. Okay, so a couple of things for your summary. It's shorter, most important information, paraphrase, and author's ideas. Okay, stick with the author, make it shorter, important information, and paraphrasing. See, what I did just there is I took these 4 long sentences and I paraphrased it. Okay, so I pulled out the key points. It needs to be shorter, most important information, I need to paraphrase, and I need to discuss the author's ideas. So that's how you do a summary. Okay, this is in the lesson on page, I'm pulling it up right now, page 4. But remember, you guys, this is a brief overview of what the lesson should be like and what the main points are. You still want to go back and reread it. So now we know kind of what a summary is. Now here are my steps. Okay, so high five. Everybody look at your finger, look at your hand. There are 5 steps for a summary. Step number 1, read the entire nonfiction text. And I want you to read it twice. Okay? So you want to read the entire nonfiction text twice before you even start the summary, 2 times. Okay? Number 2, separate the text into sections. And I will show you how to do that. We're going to go over that. Number 3, in your first sentence, mention the author, the title of the text, and the main idea of the entire text. Okay? So your first sentence, your introductory sentence, has to have the author, the title, and the main idea of the entire text. Number 4, write 1 sentence recapping the main idea for each section. So once you divide the text into sections, you are going to write a 1 sentence recap for the main idea of each section. We'll get to it, guys. Just hold on a minute. Let me get to the next thing. I think it'll help. And then you want to arrange your sentences into a paragraph. It shouldn't read like a list. It's a paragraph, so you might have to work with it so it flows well from one thing to another. Okay? So there's a couple of different steps. When you break it down into these steps, it'll make it a lot easier. The first thing you do is read it. You separate it into sections. You write a sentence summary of the main idea of each section, and then you put it together into a paragraph. Another way to look at it, you can see from this chart. And this chart, you guys, this is just, it's the same information written in a chart form. So here's your steps to follow. Read the assigned writing, divide the writing into sections, write 1 sentence recapping the main idea of each section, arrange your sentences into a paragraph, then review and revise them so they are clear and concise. Don't make it a list. You want to make it a paragraph that flows together. Okay. Questions. We're going to go over this in more detail. Okay, so let's look together at what your assignment is. So what is my assignment for 1.10? So everyone go to page 11 of lesson 1.10. So we're all looking at this together. The first thing you want to do is to read the lesson. We've talked about that. And then you want to finish the activities in the lesson. We've talked about that, so we've done that. Let's pretend we've done both of those. Check, check. And then we want to read the instructions. Anytime we see something underlined or in a different color, we need to click on it. So I want all of you, yep, a hyperlink. Good job, Rebecca. I want all of you to click on that hyperlink for the instructions. So when you click on it, you get this. 1.10, writing an effective summary assignment. You will write a summary of the story Knights and Dragons. Write a well-developed paragraph of 7 or more sentences. In your first sentence, mention the author, title of the text, and main idea of the entire text. I think we've seen this somewhere before in this module, haven't we, in this lesson? Then write one sentence for each section of the text, recapping the main idea. End by restating the main idea. They took those 5 steps and they just put them into a sentence. Okay? So those 5 steps that we've talked about that are in your notes, it's right there. And then you want to view the grading rubric as you complete your work. It's guided to your super submission. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to read Knights and Dragons. All right, guys, we see a hyperlink. So what do we need to do? What do I need to do with number 1, read Knights and Dragons? Click. Yay. Good job, guys. See how much you've learned in the last month? So everyone, click on Knights and Dragons. Yes, Maya, you did. And when you click on Knights and Dragons, your new window should look like this. Directions. Read the article below. When you are finished, write a summary to submit for this assignment. So Knights and Dragons from the memoir of author Abigail Prine. Okay. So the first thing I do when I read a summary, I read it. How many times do I read the summary? How many times do I read the article before I do the summary? There's 20 of you in here. I should see a lot more than a couple people. I appreciate the people who are participating. I want everybody being interactive. 2 times. Yay! You guys are so smart today. Okay. So I've read it twice. Now, what was the next step after I read the article twice? What's the next thing I do to do a good summary? And you can look at your lesson. Separate into sections. Awesome. Oh my goodness, look at this. They have made this so easy. 1, 2, and so on. They have already separated this into sections for us. Fantastic. This is going to be easy peasy. So I can see that the first section, let's read it. As I read it out loud, you guys read it to yourself. I sit at my desk listening to thunder growl outside my window. Flashes of light burst through the darkness, and wind races past my window. The thrilling combination of sight and sound conjures up visions of dragons roaring proudly, breathing fire, and soaring across the midnight sky. Dragons first fascinated me when I was a little girl. They have followed me ever since. The magnificent creatures appeared in storybooks I read in the library, paintings I saw in museums, movies I watched in the theater, and the dragons I had in my sleep, and the dreams I had in my sleep. By the time I was 13, one question consumed me. Determined to discover if dragons could have actually existed, I set out on a quest for facts. Okay, so this is my first thing that I need to summarize. My first section. So I've separated. So for section number 1, what do I need to do for section number 1? Good job. I need to summarize it. I need to find the main idea. So who can do a 1-sentence summary for section number 1? All right, put it in there. Go ahead in the chat box, put a 1-sentence summary for section 1. It's okay if you can't type fast. Okay, so we are doing a summary of a memoir. So instead of saying I, we want to use the author or Abigail or Prine. Okay. So Rebecca's I've always wondered if dragons existed. You could put author or Abigail Prine always wondered if dragons existed. Okay, because we want, and Dylan, you're right. She wonders if dragons exist. Maya, good. Dragons have always been in her life since she was little. Excellent. Elaborate on that a little bit. But remember, you are not writing the summary in first person because this is not your words. What you are doing is you are doing a summary of this memoir. So you want to make sure that you're not writing in I. And don't tell me in section 1 it says blah, 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 because this is a summary. Right. She wonders if dragons existed and is motivated to find answers. Katie, that's good. Okay. So that's how you do each section. So that, not too bad. That's just section number 1. Okay. Caitlin, this is 7th grade. 8th grade's at 1 o'clock. Good, Maya. Excellent. Okay. So each section, you want to make sure that each section you do a 1-sentence main idea summary. So for each section, you have 1 sentence. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Let's go back to the directions. Okay. Write a well-developed paragraph of 7 or more sentences. In your first sentence, mention the author, title of the text, and main idea of the entire text. So we didn't do that. We skipped right into doing the summary, and that's okay. But you want to make sure when you write your paragraph summary that you mention the author, title of the text, and the main idea. And then you go into putting that Abigail Prine had been fascinated by dragons since her childhood. Okay. Because that's the summary for that first section. And then write 1 sentence for each section of the text, recapping the main idea. End by restating the main idea. So you need a conclusion sentence too. Okay? So you need a conclusion sentence and you need a sentence for an introduction, the summary, and then the conclusion. Sound check. Can you, everybody hear and see me okay? Or not see me, but can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So Mason can try logging out and in since he can't hear me. And then you, of course, will do this in your Google document, turn it into a PDF, and then submit it for 1.10. Okay? What questions can I answer about 1.10 for you? All right. Thumbs up if you're good, if you don't have questions. Remember, if you have questions, you can stay at the end and I'll help you out. Okay, so let's talk about one more thing before I let you go. Do Friday 1.09 and 1.10. 1.09 is the quiz. 1.10 is the summary that we just talked about. Okay, and then this is next week. Oops. So that's 9:24. Sorry for the bad writing, guys. 9:24, okay? So live lesson DBA next Monday, 9:24 at noon. Join and participate for DBA credit or schedule a DBA on GenBook for next week. So next week is our live lesson week, all right? So it's really important that you either join and participate for the DBA, okay, and do the Google Doc and everything, or you schedule an appointment on GenBook for next week because you know DBA weeks get really, really busy. So if you're not going to be able to do the live lesson DBA, please schedule a DBA on GenBook for next week because I get really booked up next week. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, let me put in the link for the Google form. Please make sure that you are filling out the Google form. All right? Please make sure that you're filling out the Google form. If you have questions, hang out. I'll be more than happy to answer them.